It's 5:30, so we'll call to order this meeting for Monday, August 16th. Carl, would you start us off with a roll call, please?
Councilmember Ronayne. Brimley. Lunsman.
Present.
Reif.
Present.
Johnson.
Present.
Reinbold.
Present.
Langer.
Present.
Rux.
Present.
Mayor Schoeneman.
Present. Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. First order of business will be to approve this week's agenda. I understand that we'll be eliminating item F from our new business. Item F is the recommendation on bids for the sheet pile dam repairs. Any other adjustments anyone has got to offer? Otherwise, I would take a motion to approve the agenda as printed with that amendment, please.
Move to approve. Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Reinbold and a second from Councilman Lunsman. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. Motion does carry. Next, we will approve last week's meeting's minutes, or excuse me, 2 weeks ago. So it was a work session last week, 2 weeks ago on the meeting of August 2nd. Can I get a motion to approve those minutes, please?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Rux and a second from Councilman Ronayne to approve the meeting minutes of August 2nd. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. Motion does carry. We've got two guests here for our open forum, so we'll start with our VFW Firefighter of the Year Award, and we've got Dennis Nelson to tell us about that. Dennis, if you would just find your way up to the podium and make sure that the little green light is on the microphone so that we can hear you.
Right here?
Yep.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Okay.
You've got it.
I'm Dennis Nelson. I'm the commander of the Veterans of Foreign Wars, Post 17 here in Aberdeen. And I've had about an hour notice for this. The other individual was working on some construction, but he's much older than I am. And he was not able to be here because of that. But I would just like to just say that what we do as the Veterans of Foreign Wars every year, we have a number of professions that we honor and recognize in the same way we're recognizing the outstanding firefighter of Aberdeen today. I don't have a long speech, but I have a big plaque to give, and I also have a check to give to our winner this year for the Outstanding Firefighter of the Year, Mr. Nathan Sturgeon, excuse me. And would you come forward? First off, congratulations.
Thank you.
This is what we present him with, and this is one of those professions that we recognize, and we think it's extremely important to do so. So he not only has the plaque to put on his wall, but he has a check for $200 from the Veterans of Foreign Wars to also do as he pleases. Nathan, do you have anything to say?
I'm a
told
man
me
of very few words.
You told me 15 minutes you needed.
I did not prepare a speech, but I'd like to thank you for giving me this award. To Battalion Chief Huber, thank you for nominating me. To Chief Wag, thank you. And to my family, thank you. That's all. Thank you very much.
Nathan, given the nature of the award, if you wouldn't mind, maybe make your way around the dais, and we'd like to shake your hand.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dennis.
Thank you very much, Nathan, and thank you, Dennis, for presenting. All right, up next, we've got Casey Wisemantel with our Convention and Visitors Bureau. Casey, the floor is yours.
I'm going to use up the rest of his 15 minutes, if you don't mind. Just kidding. I'm here on behalf of the Convention and Visitors Bureau and the MVPA, the Military Veterans Preservation Association, that was just held in Aberdeen towards the end of July. And they gave us some really cool memorabilia for us hosting them while they were in Aberdeen. And they wanted to say thank you for all the hard work that was put forth in hosting them in Aberdeen. There was a lot of roadblocks, a couple speed bumps along the way, but Aberdeen was very grateful in helping them out while they were here. So this is what they give for a thank you. It's kind of a license plate. They have these specially made up. This one is presented to the City of Aberdeen, or City Council. So I wanted to present you guys with that.
I get it first. No,
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
We missed your humor, Tiffany.
Aw, thanks.
And then the last one goes special thank you to Chief McNeil and the Aberdeen Police Department for the police escorts that they provided Tuesday evening and Wednesday morning during that convoy as well. So, Chief, this one's for you. But yeah, there was they had a great time while they were here in Aberdeen. The public got to come out and witness these vehicles. They're pretty cool. Wednesday morning, there was a couple speed bumps. We had one vehicle that made it roughly 40 feet, and the rear axle blew out. So they towed it the rest of the way. And then one of the vehicles literally ran into the front of the vehicle in front of them. Their foot slipped off the brake and pushed the fan blade through the radiator. So they got to stay an extra week in Aberdeen and enjoy Aberdeen's hospitality. I know Justin saw me out there directing traffic Wednesday morning during the event, but great group of people. I'm glad the Aberdeen Police Department could come together and help us with the police escort. That was much needed and much appreciated. So thank you as well. Appreciate it.
Thanks for reminding us about that great event, Casey. I had a chance to make it out. Good turnout all around. With that, we will move along to our consent calendar, where we have quite a lot of events here today. 2, 4, 6, 7 items on our routine city business to be approved with the consent calendar here today. Can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar as printed?
So moved. Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Ronayne and a second from Councilman Rux. Does anyone have anything to question or add to that? Okay, then all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. The consent calendar does pass. We'll move along to our new business, where we've got an ordinance amending Chapter 12, Building and Building Regulations of the City Code, to add Chapter 29 to the adopted International Building Code. And here we have Brett Bill, our City Code guy.
When we adopted the building codes here several months back, we omitted Chapter 29, which is plumbing systems. And we're just requesting that be added at this time.
Moved. Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Ronayne and a second from Councilman Rife. Any questions for Mr. Bill? What was the concern for the delay in the first place?
We forgot it.
Oh. God, I'm glad I brought it up.
We've got the actual plumbing code, but this is in essence, I would say an addendum, but a part of that we was removed several years ago, and we've been continuing to add it every time we adopt. And this is one of those times when we got carried away with adopting all the rest of it. We just omitted this one chapter.
Run it by our local builders. The rest of them I know, and focus group, no one had any issues with this one in particular. Okay, does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Bill? Otherwise, Carl, would you give us a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Lunsman,
Aye.
Rife,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Rux,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Next, we will have our resolution dissolving tax increment financing, TIF District Number 4. Possible approval of that resolution here today, and Carl will tell us about that.
Thank you, Mayor. So far, this is the first one this year for TIF districts that have been dissolved. I don't foresee any others this year, looking at the different debt service that is available for those. State statute requires that the City Council take affirmative action to dissolve it. After that is passed, I will send it on to the county assessor and to the State Department of Revenue so that they can take it off the rolls. And at that point, all of the incremental revenue will then go to the taxing entities just like normal taxes, because they will be normal taxes.
Thank you for the explanation. Carl, did I get a motion on that?
Move to approve. Second.
A motion from Councilman Johnson and a second from Councilman Rux. And this one looks like it was paid off just a little bit early.
Yes.
That's always a good thing. Any other questions for Finance Director? Sounds good. Otherwise, Carl, would you give us a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Rux,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Rife,
Aye.
Lunsman,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Next, we've got the authorization to purchase the 2022 Ford F-250 pickup and a 2022 F-350 from Pearson Ford for $68,427. Possible approval to purchase the well, you heard it. I guess I don't need to reiterate 100% of what was typed the first time. So this would be the authorization to make those purchases.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is kind of a story of the supply chain challenges that we're seeing this year. Back in February, we bid 5 fleet vehicles using a little bit different process in hopes of getting a little bit more competition, especially locally, and it worked well, except 2 of the 3 major manufacturers canceled their heavy-duty truck orders, so it was down to 1 manufacturer. We accepted those bids, moved forward in May. 2 of them or 3 of them still hadn't been produced yet, all pickups. So they canceled the fleet orders for the rest of the year and didn't hold them on for the next year, just said, sorry, you're out of luck. So we decided to basically, since we'd bid already, to go look for quotes, but we needed to wait till the 22 orders were open. They've been done. We got quotes from the local Chevy dealer, the local Ford dealer. As you can see, the lowest responsive was from Pearson Ford for an F-250 and an F-350 for the total of $68,427. I've been told we need to order them quickly because probably in September orders are going to get shut down again, and it still will be about a 4-month wait, we think. So staff recommends approval.
Move to approve.
Got a motion from Councilman Reinbold and a second from Councilman Johnson. Does anyone have any questions for the city manager on this one? Sounds good. Then, Carl, would you give us a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Lunsman,
Aye.
Rife,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Rux,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Next, we've got the authorization to allocate up to $150,000 as matching funds for resident recruitment and marketing efforts. And Joe will kick us off, and it looks like we got a couple of folks from the crowd as well.
Yes, if you think back to the strategic planning session with the council and staff in April, at the conclusion of that, you set several goals. A couple of them related to staff retention and resident recruitment. Specifically, some of the two strategies, work with local partners to create audio and video resources highlighting community attributes marketed towards potential residents and visitors. And the second one, develop and improve career mentoring opportunities with local high school and higher ed students. Those goals didn't just pop out of the air. It's because we're seeing workforce shortages, both with our staff throughout the city, throughout the state, really all states in the nation. And the South Dakota Governor's Office for Economic Development has just recently announced that there will be some funding, grant funding for some programs. We're getting word on that still. Even last week there were some updates, and we got to wait for what's the final fund availability, what would we get. But basically, we need to apply. Most of this program will be administered through local economic development authorities, and that's who has to apply. But the good news is here we have a lot of partners. So the Development Corp and the Chamber worked on kind of the two sides of this, the recruitment of workers to our state, and also how to market that plan. So you have a handout in there that kind of gives some parameters of what we would think about. It's a matching grant, so if you ask from 100 for the state for a program, you need to be able to match it with community dollars of another 100,000, and then employer dollars for every incentive to match that 100,000 as well. So it definitely gets everybody involved. We'd like to submit 100 for the workforce and 50 for the marketing. Quite frankly, we're not sure if we'll be able to ask for that much or not. So the request here is to allocate $150,000. When we were dealing with some of the fund overages last year, we talked about setting some aside for economic development. I think this would be a good opportunity. And it won't be released until the award is made and then actually the funds are expended. So it won't leave. And if we don't get through all of it that's expended, then you'd be able to free it up and do some other things with it. But Gail from the Chamber's here, Mike from Economic Development is here if they want to add something or if you have any questions.
Joe, I might have missed it, but who's the match from?
So the marketing dollars, we would be the match. As far as the incentive, so imagine an easy way to put this is it's basically a three-way share. So if we brought in an employee, they're making at least $20 an hour from out of state, then let's say we give everybody a $1,500 sign-on bonus. So $500 would come from the city's match, $500 from the state, and then that individual employer would do $500. So it gets everybody in the game. We all have a match. You bring people to fill a job. They spend money here. They buy a home or rent a home here, and hopefully stay and settle down for the long time. There could be some bigger incentive packages there, but I think a lot of that will come down to how much we receive from the state to get this started.
I'll move to approve. Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Renane and a second from Councilman Reif. And so the way that you're saying that if the state were to say, we'll award you $50,000 in total, then we pitch in $50,000, they pitch in $50,000.
Correct.
And then the employer themselves pitches in $50,000. So
yeah,
that's kind of the restraining factor. We'll go for 150, but if they say a lower number, that's what we're committing to.
Right.
Sounds good. Does anyone else have any questions for how this thing is going to work?
So I just have a quick
Clint, what do
question
we
on
got?
sort of the tracking. If we do get this, how do we ensure that this is, let's say, going to people? Because I think the rules are it has to be from out of state, people making over $20 an hour. Are we going to have certain accountability steps to make sure that someone, let's say, doesn't come in, they get the bonus, and then, oop, I'm going somewhere else? Are we going to have certain types of stuff to where, like, well, if you have to stick around, or you just can't come work for a couple weeks and then go take another job back in another state?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's some of that, Clint. We've talked about specifically addressing what you just mentioned is, can you hold somebody to, showing up and staying? We can certainly do that. We've tried that. The state has tried that with scholarships, all that other stuff. And the amount of dollars you're talking about, like if, you can go after somebody and try to get them to give you the money back. By the time you do that, it cost you more money than it would. So there is the possibility that may happen. We certainly, the majority of people would likely stay. We don't see a lot of that, from just what people are doing right now in terms of other businesses. So related to that question, there's not a whole lot you can do. Is there a lot of other tracking that's being input? Yes. For instance, on the workforce recruitment side, first off, I think it's been mentioned, the person has to move here from out of state. We're not going to poach somebody from here on our peer or vice versa. So as a state, they all have to relocate here to the state. And then on the workforce incentive, let's just say the city, because the city could use it. You hire somebody, you bring somebody in that you have an open position. What we would propose, or what we've talked about, is the employer would upfront whatever the bonus is, whatever that, because they could all be different. They don't have to be the same. So let's just say the city gave $3,000 as a sign-on bonus or a recruitment bonus. So that'd be a third. Well, the city would upfront the $3,000 and then come back, and you have to give us. So we have to know the name of the person, the company that hired them, the industry segment, obviously our city. We'd get that. We need to know the job title of the individual. We have to verify the wage, which means they're going to have to receive their first pay stub. So they're going to have to bring to our office a redacted pay. I mean, I don't want their social security number and all that. You have to bring that in, and then what we would do is these funds have to go, that part of the funds have to go through us. So then we would turn around and reimburse the city the 2/3 of the match, because it's equally split, a third. So that's how, it's challenging when you're doing these workforce recruitment things, marketing efforts. You can never track anything, because there's, people don't have to check in or check out when they move to a state, leave a state, a city, etc. This way we will actually be able to track this, to find if this is the first thing we found that we can actually see if this works, and how it works.
Okay.
So each employer gets to choose. They might choose. Is there a maximum on that?
There is a maximum. That's the only rule that the GOED put on this is you can't. It can only be 15,000. So, you could go up to. There could be a sign-on bonus or a recruitment bonus or whatever it is you want to recruit or how you want to give it out. 15,000 is the maximum. But we also have the ability as a community. We can do whatever we want with it. That's what's really nice about this particular program. Many times, I mean, we're all familiar with grants. There's usually hey, here's the grant, and then there's pages of bullet points with all these different restrictions on it. That's the only restriction on this particular grant is the dollar amount. And they have to move in from out of state. But we can do it however we want, and really the employers can do it however they want. In certain situations, there may be an employee or a business that needs that $15,000, but there may be some other businesses that may need 1,000 or 1,500 or whatever it might fit for them. The other thing that I learned today that I think is important, because I imagine this will happen as well, and again, we don't have to do this, but we are allowed to if we choose to do this. We can use some of these funds for upskilling people that already live in South Dakota. The example they gave that we do see a fair amount is you may have some folks that may want to go get a CDL license. There's a lot of those jobs out there that are available that are especially if you're driving a heavy truck, those jobs pay very, very well. Well, it's not cheap to get a CDL license. It's actually very expensive. So we've got some avenues there where that's a good example of upskilling somebody. So if somebody wants to get a CDL license, we can help. We can fully underwrite the cost. We can partially do it. We can do whatever it may be. We could also then involve the employer, to cut that 50-50 or a third, whatever it is that we would choose to do. So you can upskill people but they just you have to upskill above the $20 an hour mark is the only thing that comes along with that particular piece.
Any other questions for Mike? Josh has got one.
Mike, what's the time frame on this?
So they want to be relatively aggressive on this. The applications have to be in by September 15th. The question that I posed today to the folks at the GOED is, so they won't decide on the applications until September 15th. It's probably going to take a couple weeks, which gets us to October 1st. And they're not mandating, but they're requesting that we expend the funds by December 31st. Well, that's only 90 days. That's hard to, especially the type of position you're recruiting, that can be a tough turnaround. So what I asked the question of today, which they told me they'd get back to me no later than noon on Wednesday, is can we start the program now? Because we're going to get some amount of funds. We just don't know how much. But I don't really want to wait until October 1st, so we'd like to get going on it now. And the word on this has leaked out a little bit, which is fine. It's not secretive by any means, but I received four employers called our office today that are very, very interested in this, and they've 3 of the 4 have never tried anything like this before. So they said, well, we've got these open positions and we meet the $20 an hour, and what we've been trying for the past how many ever years is not working, so why not try this? And that's the attitude we're taking is, let's get aggressive and see if this will work. If we can get, a family or 2 or how many ever we end up, hopefully, obviously more than that, to move to our community, that's a huge win. Huge win. That answer your question?
Dave Lensman.
Just one quick question. Is there, and hopefully we have this trouble, but is there any maximum number of employees any employer can offer this to?
That is something we could do if we wanted to. We talked about that. We visited with Joe. Gail and I visited and then reached out to some other employers, and we're kind of taking the attitude, well, we're not kind of, Dave, we are taking it in the short time frame we have. If an employer's ready and we can move families here to South Dakota and specifically to obviously our community, we need to do that. And you're going to have some employers that are certainly more ready than others, and we'll do what we can to help those who are brand new to this sort of game set up a system that will work for their business, and hopefully they can get some employees from this as well. One thing I think that is important to note, which goes back to Josh's question on what's our time frame on expending the dollars. So these monies were actually appropriated by the legislature this last year. And this is something, if this works, and this is why the GOED is excited about the ability to track this would be something, if it works and it's deemed successful, that they would go back and ask the legislature to appropriate additional money. So this may be an opportunity that we may have again in 2022. It just really depends how it works.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
And so I got a real quick question for you, Gail, then, as the marketing end of things. So the marketing that will be done is for the program at large, or is that going to be employer specific, or who's the target? I saw that there were some geographical targets, but what does the marketing say?
So in your packet was our initial thoughts about how we're going to market, and it is an expansion on what we're already doing, right, through digital media. However, GOED now has put together maybe kind of a similar concept, but I think it's, we have a spot here for you. We've saved you a spot, right?
I like to be on TikTok, so that's always a positive.
Well, so that's a little bit undetermined. We put some ideas forth, and we like that idea. Maybe we'll do that anyway with our city marketing dollars, but it looks like we'll be working a little more closely with GOED on those marketing dollars, using their brand, some of their concepts. But that's the process we'll take, and Mike will handle the working with the employers.
All right, sounds good. Any other questions for Gail on the marketing end of things? All right, then we've got our motion, we've got our second. Carl, would you give us a roll call vote on this, please?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Lunsman,
Aye.
Reif,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Rux,
Aye.
Mayor Schoeneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Thank you guys very much for joining us, and good luck with the program. Let's make this thing work. Next thing is our recommendation on bids for the Roadway De-Icing Salt. Possible approval to award the bid to Blackstrap Incorporated for 2,000 tons of salt in the amount of $161,980, as well as authorization for the city manager and finance officer to sign that paper. And Robin will tell us all about that de-icing salt.
This is a contractor supplier that we have used several times over the years. The price is actually a little better than we had last year, so we did add a little bit of storage, and we think that's probably why the price has come down a little bit. It's actually a unit price contract. We never know how much de-icing chemical we're going to need, so it's an approximate amount. The only thing that's fixed on it is the $80.99 per ton that's listed here. But we recommend approval of the bid to Blackstrap.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Johnson and a second from Councilman Rux. Has anyone got any questions? All right, then Carl, would you give us a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Rux,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reif,
Aye.
Lunsman,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Next, we've got the change order and payment for North Dakota Street roadway improvements. This would be the possible approval and change order number 1 in the amount of $59,348.04, and the payment number 3 in the amount of $239,032.24 to Reedy Construction. Robin, what can you tell us about that?
Well, we're continuing to work on the project right now. They are working on the striping. We've got some new trees put in. We've also got some of the modular block going in alongside for the landscaping to get the yards back to the right level with the sidewalks and bike paths. It's moving along very well. The change order is all the ads that we've done so far. We haven't done any of the subtract portion of the change order, but that will come as a balancing thing at the end of the contract. The majority of this pay request is for things like the sidewalks, bike paths, the kind of stuff off to the side. You'd paid for the main roadway already is in the last pay estimate. So we recommend approval to Reedy's.
Move approval.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Rux and a second from Councilman Lunsman. Has anyone got any questions or input? All right, then. Carl, would you give us a roll call vote?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Lunsman,
Aye.
Reif,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Rux,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Next, we've got the change order and payment for the 3rd Avenue Southeast reconstruction. This would be possible approval and change order number 1 in the amount of $66,903.50. Payment number 1 in the amount of $412,975.01 to B&B Contracting for that work. Robin?
Okay, once again, the change orders, all the additional things that we've done. Some of the things that will not be part of the contract have not been subtracted off as part of this change order. So the change order's substantial at this point, but in contracts or in projects where things are a little more complicated with not really knowing exactly what you're encountering when you're getting underground, it becomes more likely you're going to have change orders. One of the change order, probably the biggest piece of this change order is the demolition of the one tunnel between Lord's Hall and St. Luke's. That piece was not part of it. There's really no way for us to bid that. We just had to have the contractor do it, and it's a kind of hourly type rate to get it done because the contractor didn't know what they would encounter when they get into it. So that's probably the most substantial part of this change order. They have basically all the concrete in place, and they're installing the gravel right now and should be paving here shortly. So we'll see that open before too long. We recommend approval to B&B.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Reif and a second from Councilman Rux. So was there 2 tunnels underneath of that road then?
There are 2 tunnels, yes.
Now just 1.
Right.
All right. Any other questions for Robin? All right. Carl, would you give us a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Rux,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reif,
Aye.
Lunsman,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Mayor Shonneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Next, we've got the AIP project number 3, 46001, 2021 Airport Rescue Grant. Possible approval and authorize the city manager to sign and execute that grant offer agreement in the amount of $1.145,711 from the FAA and South Dakota Department of Transportation Aeronautics. Rich, what can you tell us about that grant?
About 3 weeks ago, I went into the office and had a surprise email on a Monday morning, which was actually a good surprise. And it turned out that we were eligible for a grant in the amount of $1,145,711 under the Airport Rescue Grant through FAA and SDDOT. So we took this to the airport board for approval, and we're asking for city manager signature on all items going forward associated with this grant. This will be used for payroll, benefits, and utilities.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Johnson, a second from Councilman Ronayne. Any questions for Rich? All right. Carl, would you give us a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Lunsman,
Aye.
Reif,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Rux,
Aye.
Mayor Shonneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Next, we've got the AIP project 3, 46001, 2021. Acquire snow removal equipment. Possible approval and authorize the city manager to sign the federal and state financial agreements and the necessary documents for that AIP project. Rich, snow removal equipment.
Yep, this one we've been working on for a little over a year now. We finally got our grant on this, and we actually received the snow blower 2 Mondays ago. So we have that in-house, and we were told that our de-icing truck, liquid de-icing truck, is not going to be delivered to us until somewhere around that March, April timeframe, due to all the things you've been hearing about with any other vehicle, computer chip issues and some chassis subcomponents and whatnot. But we're asking for city manager's signature on all documents going forward on this AIP project.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion from Councilman Ronayne and a second from Councilman Lunsman. Does anyone have any questions? All right. Carl, would you give us a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Rux,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reif,
Aye.
Lunsman,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Mayor Shonneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Next, we've got the payment request for the airport improvement projects. We've got 3 of them tonight. The first one is the GA Apron Project, Helms and Associates, for $2,649.02. Then we've got a taxiway geometry to Helms and Associates for the total amount of $40,968.35. And we've got the taxiway geometry project to Sharp Enterprises for $721,403.20. This would be for the possible approval and the authorization for the signatures on those projects. Rich, how are we coming on them?
So the first one, payment number 9 to Helms, is for design services. This project will actually begin next spring, rebuilding rebuilding half of the general aviation ramp. It's going to be a phased project over 2 years. Payment number 21, line 2, is for resident engineering services that have been provided for the taxiway geometry project. Having the engineer out there, doing their measurements and journal entries and whatnot. And payment number 3 is for materials and labor to date on that project.
Move to approve all 3 payments.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Johnson, a second from Councilman Reinbold. Sure is a lot of dirt out there. That's all part of this.
Well, actually, there's less dirt now.
Good. Good. Any questions for the airport manager? Otherwise, Carl, would you give us a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Lunsman,
Aye.
Reif,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Rux,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Next, we've got the review and approval of the claims and payroll bills for the week of August 16th, as well as payroll for the periods of August 1st through the 14th, and our share of Social Security, old age, and survivors insurance, retirement, health, and life insurance.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion from Councilman Rux and a second from Councilman Lunsman. Carl, would you give us a roll call vote to make those payments, please?
Councilmember Rux,
Aye, but abstain on the payroll item for Mitchell Rux.
Langer,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reif,
Aye.
Lunsman,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Next, we've got the city manager's report. Joe, tell us what you got.
A couple things. You know, we usually do the employee recognition under this part, but when the family walked in with about 4 small children, I thought they might want to move along. I didn't think they'd last this entire meeting, but that was great. Another thing I've mentioned a couple times when we're seeing folks with some tenures that aren't in the milestones, especially those that you deal with. But Chief McNeil made 29 years earlier this month on the 3rd. And one of the reasons sometimes to point these out is when someone's getting close to 30 years service, you know, retirement could be close. Luckily, Chief has assured me that with all 3 of his children in college, he's going to be working for a while, and that's great news. But the second one is actually occurring today, and this is a real point being driven home, but Carla Herr is celebrating 28 years. She's been in HR that whole time. She's the most important person to any employee because she does payroll. So she's great. She's a walking file cabinet, and she will retire within the next several months. So there won't be a 29 unless her plan goes awry, and I think she's ready. But we appreciate her. We appreciate all our city employees, but it's a little bit scary. It's fun to see them retire and enjoy life, but it's a little scary replacing some of these folks with that many years. So the other thing in the consent agenda, you set a work session for next week at 4:30. We'll just do that in front of the regular session. We have kind of a draft model for medical cannabis changes to the zoning ordinance that we want you to look at and get some input before that goes over to the zoning board. So, and that's it.
Will we get that in advance?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you, Chief, for your years of service, as well as to Carla if she listens to any of these meetings. With that, I would take a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
A motion from Councilman Rux and a second from Councilman Lunsman. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. That does it. We're adjourned. Thank you all very much.